Hello students! Today I'd like us to have a look at one of my other favorite stories. I call it The Curse on American Presidents. And I gave you a subtitle so you understand a bit better what it will be about. The subtitle reads, How a Native American Chief Cast a Deadly Spell on American Presidents for Over 100 Years. Because yes, if you have a look at American history, you'll find out that for over 100 years, all the American presidents who were elected the years that ended with zero, all of them died in office. That means that they died when they were still presidents. And as you know, American presidents are elected every 4 years, so the years ending with zero were every 20 years. That means that every 20 years, for over 100 years, the president that was elected that year died while he was still president. Now, this sounds extraordinary, so let's have a look at why this happened. It is believed that American presidents had been cursed by a Native American chief whose name was Tecumseh. And Tecumseh was very powerful. I don't know if you know, but at the beginning of the 19th century in the United States, there were what we call the Indian Wars. And it was all these tensions between Native Americans and Americans, because Americans pretty much wanted Native American lands and pretty much would have done anything to get that land. So there were a lot of battles, a lot of fights, and a lot of slaughtering. And that happened over the course of the whole 19th century. But the beginning of the 19th century, say around the years 1811, 1812, that was the height of these battles. And so Tecumseh was very powerful because he was at the head of an alliance between many Native American tribes, and that alliance fought Americans and the American army. So you could say he was public enemy number one. And I want us to have a look at one of the battles we talked about. The battle I want us to look at is the Battle of Tippecanoe. And the Battle of Tippecanoe happened in November 1811. We just talked about Tecumseh. And Tecumseh was the chief of the village that was attacked that day. But what's interesting is that Tecumseh was not there that day. The American army had decided to wait for him to be away to attack the village. And so they attacked the village and eventually they burned the whole village down. And Tecumseh was extremely angry at that. So a lot of people believe that that was the day when he decided to cast a spell on the American president. But the question is, why American presidents? Why not just the American army, or why not simply just Americans? There may be a reason that we can find if we have a look at the painting here. Look on the left. There's a guy on a horse. Well, this guy was the commander of the American army at the battle, and in 1840, this commander will be elected president of the United States. So it is believed that the curse started on the day he became president, because after that day, every 20 years, the president who was elected died in office. Let's have a look at this president who was the first victim of the curse. His name was William Harrison. So he was the commander that you saw on the horse. William Harrison was elected in 1840 and he died in 1841. And remember, when a president is elected, still today, he does not become president straight away. It takes a few months. And so he was elected in November 1840, but he did not become president before March 1841, on March the 4th. And when he gave his inauguration speech, he gave a very long speech in the cold, and he probably caught the flu that day. And eventually that flu turned into pneumonia, and he died exactly 1 month after he became president. He died on April the 4th, 1841. So he's the president with the shortest term in American history, and he was the first to die in office. Now let's take a look at the next one, 20 years later. You know him. You've seen his face. So who's this man? You recognize him? I hope you said Abraham Lincoln, because this is Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln was elected in 1860, and he died in 1865. And you know how he died. He was shot, as you can see on this newspaper. And he was shot by somebody who was very famous at the time, by the way. He was an actor. His name was John Wilkes Booth, and he was very handsome. The ladies loved him. If you want an example today, it's a bit as if Brad Pitt decided to kill the president. Although maybe Brad Pitt speaks more to me than he speaks to you. Oh well, never mind. So let's have a look at how this assassination went. So you can see Lincoln there, holding his head because he's just been shot. He was in a theater watching a play, and because the killer was an actor, he knew his way around that theater. So he managed to get in, and he went ahead and shot the president in the head. And then, as you can see, he jumped from the box onto the stage, and he ran outside where there was a horse waiting for him. He managed to escape, but he was caught 2 weeks after that, and he was killed on the day he was caught. Okay, so that's the assassination of Lincoln. He was the first American president to be assassinated. But as you know, because you know at least another one who was assassinated, he was not the last one. Let's have a look at how it went 20 years later. So this is James Garfield. He was elected in 1880 and he died in 1881. So again, that was a very short term. And he too was assassinated. And just because I like it, I want to tell you a little story about his assassination. There are many things to say about his assassination. First, Abraham Lincoln's son was there. So imagine, he was traumatized all over again by what he saw. Also, this president, James Garfield, he did not die straight away. So the doctors tried to save him for weeks. And I don't know if you know Alexander Graham Bell. He's the guy who invented the telephone. Well, to save the president, he invented one of the first metal detectors to try and find the bullet in the president's body. It didn't really work out as planned because the president died eventually, but I just thought it was kind of a cool anecdote to know. And talking about cool anecdotes, something else too. Because the president was shot in July and it was extremely hot in the summer, he had one of the first air conditioning machines ever invented in his room to make sure that he was comfortable while he was dying. Okay, anyway, moving on 20 years after that. This is William McKinley. He was re-elected in 1900, so it was his second term, and he died in 1901. So again, only a few months into his second term. And as you can see here, he too was shot. He was shot by an anarchist. And so he was the third president to be assassinated. Does it look like there is a curse yet? Let's see how it goes in 1920. This is Warren Harding, and he was elected in 1920, and he died in 1923, but he was not assassinated. He died, as you can see on this newspaper, he died of a stroke of apoplexy, which means that he died of a heart attack. So American presidents were not always assassinated. Some of them died of natural causes, like the next one, whom you know. Do you know who this is? Do you recognize this face? Yes? I hope you do. This is Franklin Roosevelt. He was re-elected in 1940. You know he was elected 4 times, which is exceptional for an American president. Now you can't be elected more than twice as president. So he was re-elected in 1940, and he died in 1945, on April 12th, at the very end of World War II. And he died of cerebral hemorrhage, so natural causes, but still, he was the 6th president elected a year ending with 0 who died in office. 6th president in a row. And so let's have a look at the next one, number 7, because you know him too. Let's have a look at this face. You recognize him? I'm sure you do. This is John Kennedy, and he was elected in 1960, and he died in 1963. And you know how he died. He was shot. He was shot dead on November 22nd, 1963. Maybe you've seen the footage of the shooting, but at the very least, you know that he was assassinated. And he was the 4th American president to have been assassinated, and the 7th victim of the curse, apparently. So let's have a look at the next one, because things changed after Kennedy. So this is Ronald Reagan. He was elected in 1980. And he did not die, so it looks like the curse stopped there. But he did have to face an assassination attempt in 1981. And as you can see on this newspaper, he had to undergo a 2-hour surgery to survive. The bullet was lodged only 2 centimeters away from his heart. And for a lot of people, the fact that he survived is a sign that he broke the curse. George W. Bush was the next president elected in a year ending with 0. George W. Bush was elected in 2000, and because Ronald Reagan broke the spell, you would think that nothing happened to him. Well, that's not quite true. During his presidency, he had to face 3 assassination attempts, 2 in 2001 and 1 in 2005. One of the attempts from 2001 you know really well, because it was 9/11. One of the 4 planes was supposed to crash onto the White House. So now, there is a big question we need to ask ourselves. Were there other American presidents who died in office? After all, maybe there have been many presidents who died in America while they were presidents. And if that's the case, it looks like there was no curse, just coincidences. So let's ask the question, were there other American presidents who died in office? Well, yes, there was one. And this man was called Zachary Taylor. And Zachary Taylor was elected in 1848, and he died in 1850. And he died because he ate too many cherries, which got him really sick. And what's interesting about him, apart from the fact that he had a lousy way to die, is that he was in the American Army, and he was the commander at a battle called Fort Harrison, which took place in 1812. And he won that battle. But do you know who his enemy was on that day? On that day, Zachary Taylor won the battle against Tecumseh. So, coincidence? Curse? You decide. But if this is a curse, it's a very powerful one, because Tecumseh died in 1813. And so if the last president to have been victim of the curse was Kennedy, who was killed in 1963, it means that the curse lasted exactly 150 years. Unless, of course, the curse is not over yet. And in this case, the elections of 2020 should be very interesting. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.